So I have an example for us to follow: mourn homicides. We do not need to be. We need to be deeply grieved when death happens, particularly when manslaughter happens, when people are murdered. We should mourn that, and we see an example of that in an odd, ancient Near Eastern way. We see this in Deuteronomy chapter 21. We'll take a look at, and then there are some other odd things that will probably shock us when it comes to modern day readers, but we do need to try our best to put on ancient Near Eastern glasses. Remember, this was a long time ago, and remember, there were wicked, bad institutions. Warfare was one of those that we talked about even yesterday. We need to remember that God is protecting those within these difficult, bad situations. There had to be laws to govern and protect in this ancient Near Eastern context. Also, remember, we are applying the sixth commandment. Moses is applying the sixth commandment: thou shalt not murder. And so that's what we see here in verse 21. We actually see a reference to the back to the fifth commandment, to honor our parents. So let us go and read 21. Here's what shall happen if you find someone that is slain lying in the open country and is not known who killed him, a homicide that happens and we do not know who did it. This is what the elders are supposed to do. It says, the elders of the city that is nearest to the slain man shall take a heifer that has never been worked and that has not pulled in a yoke, and the elders of that city shall bring the heifer down to a valley with running water, which is neither plowed nor sown, and shall break the heifer's neck there in the valley, saying, this man, this woman, this person has been killed, and we are mourning this. In the way that they're mourning this, and then offering a sacrifice like offering. So this is not, they're not going to go and burn the sacrifice, but you can tell this is a mourning process and a way to clear the guilt of the land. And so they take this cow and they break the neck there in the valley. And then we're told that the priests, son of Levi, shall come forward, for the Lord your God has chosen them to minister to him and to bless in the name of the Lord. So when this atrocity happens and injustice cannot be accomplished, the priests are involved. And the religious leaders are obviously involved when, in today's age, when tragedies happen, we don't know why. We come and we address the terrible situation and we mourn. So this breaking of the heifer's neck is a way of mourning this loss, and as we will see, even clearing the guilt from the land. And so by their word, every dispute and every assault shall be settled. We need to remember the priests had judicial powers. Verse 6, and all the elders of that city nearest to the slain man shall wash their hands over the heifer whose neck was broken in the valley. Very odd practice, I was saying, but they're running the water, they're washing their hands, and then they're supposed to say this: our hands did not shed this blood. So a way of mourning and saying, we all testify, we're all here, we didn't do it, we don't know who did it, we didn't do it, nor did our eyes see it shed. Accept atonement. So this is where I say it's a sacrifice-like action. Accept atonement, O Lord, for your people Israel, whom you have redeemed, and do not set the guilt of innocent blood in the midst of your people Israel, so that their blood guilt be atoned for. And what we need to think about, that the ancient Near East and the Israelites would think that they would have to do something if something terrible happened within their proximity. And this is something that we quickly forget about, is that we are responsible for the things that happen around us. We should, in particular, take responsibility to proactively make sure things don't happen bad around us. And so this graphic action of killing the heifer, breaking the neck, so it's not just slaughtering or killing, but breaking the neck of the heifer and doing this hand washing ritual, is showing that, hey, we did not see it. We all agree we did not see it happen. We did not do it ourselves. And they're mourning for it and saying that we wish this would not happen. And that since it happened close to us, we need to seek the atonement of God. And ultimately, there was one death that gave the atonement for all people of all times. That's the atonement of Jesus, the death of Jesus on the cross. You've heard me say this many times, but that 500 years from now, when we're in heaven, many things that we wonder, how did this happen or how could this have happened? It will make sense to us. I really think God will show to us why certain things happened and how he worked it together for good. So the takeaway here is that we need to mourn homicides. We need to mourn when death happens all around us and unsolved murders occur in our own land. And we need to be proactive to make sure that we are doing what we can to make sure love is reigning supreme, make sure that service is reigning supreme, and hopefully the church is going to lead out in that. So going on, there's some other odd things that you've got to be probably got some questions on if you read it. Verses 10 through 14 talks about when you go to war, they're directing the Israelites, if they go to war and they conquer the people and they see, you see there, verse 11, you see among the captives a beautiful woman and you desire to take her to be your wife. Again, this is totally outside anything that we would normally be encountering. But the picture here is that uh, the Israelites conquered, and there is a woman there, and this person wants to make this lady his wife. So if you think about it, and what would happen to the captives in other cultures would be raped, would be made into slavery. So in this sense, with the way that the Lord is saying, here's what you can do. You can take the woman, you can make her your wife. You can give her an exalted status. And it even says there in verse 14, this would not happen in other cultures of the time. If you no longer delight in her, you shall let her go where she wants. Like and you need to let her go free. You don't need to sell her for money. You don't need to treat her as slave, since you have humiliated her in the sense of that you are sending her away. Don't have time to really dive into this a lot, but remember the rights of women were very low in the ancient Near East. And again, we see examples of the Old Testament law code that many would say, hey, this shows that God did not value women. We have to look at it and say, this is actually God protecting the women in this institution. I'm sure you have more questions. Text, email me, and I would love to sit down and talk with you more. The inheritance rights of the firstborn. We're told that if somebody has two wives, again, this is not something we should be practicing right now. One wife, one husband, one man and woman forever. Is that if they have two wives and there's one wife that the husband loved more, we see right here that the husband is not allowed to treat the son of the loved wife as the firstborn in preference to the son of the unloved who is the firstborn. We're saying that the firstborn must be acknowledged correctly, and that just because the husband loved the wife more, the sons need to get the same treatment as they always would. Speaking of sonship, we see here what happens to a rebellious son. A rebellious son is, according to the Old Testament covenant, then all the men of the city shall stone him with stones. You see the gravity. And so, what needs to really be pushed in our mind here is that the gravity of rebellion. And when we're talking rebellion, we're talking about, uh, we're not talking just disobedience. We're talking a son who is not doing at all what is right and good. And many scholars have even talked about this word son being talked about as a young man, like a 20-year-old or whatnot. So this is somebody who is causing great damage and is not doing the things that they are supposed to. Always remember too, when we talk about the way that the ancient Near East and the Israelites applied the Ten Commandments, no one is saying that these are laws that should be enacted today. This is just to show us how God was directing the Israelites to apply it in their judicial system. And finally, we have a respect for those that are executed. The respect is that the land is not to be defiled by leaving the hanged man on a tree all the time. In fact, the reason he shall be buried the same day. The reason Jesus was buried on Friday is because of this commandment. We are not allowed to leave the man on the cross, not allowed to leave the man hanging on the tree for throughout the night, must be buried immediately. And that's why Jesus was buried on Friday. And then in this way, you are to honor the dead, and you are to respect even those that did an atrocious crime that would have deserved the death penalty at that time. You should still honor their body and not defile the land by not giving that body a proper burial. Ancient Near Eastern customs, you could spend a lot of time studying all of those things. I hope that helped you a little bit to get a handle on Deuteronomy chapter 21. I pray that's been a blessing to you, and I'll see you in the next video.